Welcome one, welcome on to another glorious episode of the Shutter Saga Podcast. I am your host, Marvin Blue. With me, as always, is another wonderful guest that comes through and gives us their time. You know, we talk shop, we talk about life, talk about photography, talk about videography, talk about everything in between. But as always, we just have a fun conversation and, kick it out there to the universe so that you guys hear our shenanigans. This week, my special guest, man, is a longtime friend, been a mentor. He is someone that's been behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. If you grab a camera and you take video, he is one of like my top 4 people that you gotta learn from. He gives master classes on what it takes to be a wedding videographer. His videos are second to none. He's literally, like I said, on my Mount Rushmore of people that I learned from when it came to video, when I broke into video. But with me this week is my good friend, Rob Adams. Rob, how you doing, man?
What's up, Marvin? How are you, bud?
Doing great. Hey, before we get started, I got to thank the sponsors that keep the show floating, keep us going, and pay the bills. So as always, Cheetah Stands, my OG guys, my boys came through with us, from day one. They've been with me, and I tell everybody all the time, if you're going to invest on these expensive lights, you need to invest in stands that's going to protect it, not let them fall down. It's going to ride with you, through the ups and downs, through all the trials and tribulations, the wear and tear that we put on our equipment. You want to have the best out there. And because Cheetah Stands love you guys so much, they're giving you 10% off. So just go to cheetahstands.com/Shutter Saga Podcast. Also, I'm all about automation, guys. All right. 17 Hats is where it's at. All right. If you're going to run a business and you're going to be legitimate, you need to go 17 Hats. All right. 17 Hats is awesome. They are a customer resource management software. They have been with me since day one. They've been with numerous photographers, numerous businesses, period. It's all about automation and running a business and just legitimizing yourself and giving you back your time. It's super important. If you are interested, you get 50% off your first year. So just hit me up. It's 17hats.com. Reach out to me. I have a special promo code. It will be in the show notes. And my last sponsors recently came on. You guys heard them in the past in the previous episodes, but Fundy Design, Fundy is there where it's at. It's all about selling your products. It's all about streamlining things. It's all about presenting your products, your art to your clients to help you make top dollar. They are a resource. They're all about making sure that we grow as companies, as artists, as photographers, everything in between. And it's all about servicing your client and giving them a wonderful client experience. So just go to fundydesigner.com. If you got any questions about Fundy, hit me up. I'm all going to answer every questions for you. So again, thank you to all the sponsors for this week's episode, and back to the show. Rob, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm actually very impressed that you were able to do all of that without a teleprompter. You actually remembered all of that. You have your sponsor pitch down. You're like the waiter that comes over to the table and he's got like 17 specials memorized, everything from like the appetizer all the way down to the dessert. Nailed it.
I think, it's just my years of being a bullshit artist. That's what it comes down to, getting in trouble in high school and talking your way out of that. And then also, being a lackluster boyfriend and coming up with great excuses. Like just years of training.
That's great on the intellectual level. Then you have the gift of gab on top of it.
There you go.
You just run that mouth all day long.
So you gotta mention that Rob is coming to us from the capital of one of the greatest countries in the U.S., Austin, Texas, everyone.
And Texas is a country. You're right.
It is.
Absolutely. It's amazing. Austin's great, man. We love it. We're Jerseyites, originally born and raised in New Jersey. I had lived outside of New Jersey. I had lived in Kentucky for about 6 years. And I got a taste of Southern hospitality and what life was like outside of the Northeast. And I knew going back to New Jersey was just a work move, but I knew one day I'd get out of there. And luckily I was able to take Vanessa with me. So.
Yeah. And then there's Southern hospitality, and then there's Texas Southern hospitality, which is very different. We say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, but, here in Texas, it's just a little bit different. It's a little bit more of a Texas refinery, if you will.
There's its own flavor of people. I mean, I've been all over the United States, many different states, and even different regions. Like you'll go to the Southwest, and people are kind of like, their own brand, but they are kind of the same in a way. Texas has its own thing. It's kind of like New Orleans. New Orleans has its own thing. Like you don't find people that act like and talk like the people in New Orleans anywhere else. I don't care where you are in the Cajun area, the Bayou, the South, whatever. It's got its own flavor, and Texas as a whole, the people just have their own flavor. Native Texans, I should say.
It's a culture that we embrace and we love. Now, I got to ask the typical Texas questions. All right, barbecue. Have you become a fan, or is it part of your like?
Well, I've become an apprentice. I'm a pit apprentice. I smoke everything now.
Yes.
We've gotten into smoking. I do the turkey on Thanksgiving. I smoke a brisket on Christmas. I smoke a duck on Easter. I mean, everything, wings all the time. It's become an art form. This year, I finally nailed my first really good brisket.
Yeah.
Just trimmed just right, just the right bark, and just cooked perfectly all the way through. About 14 hours. It's an art form, man. I love it. I just love. I can't get enough of it. The problem is if I ate too much of it, then I just start smelling like meat.
Oh, that's the whole point. And I mean, again, you haven't lived until you've taken all that brisket and you somehow figured out how to finagle it into your breakfast and then make it a part of your dessert or
But
whatever.
yeah, brisket and eggs, man. Oh yeah, everything,
Brisket coaching
everything.
is like, and then let's transition. You're in Texas, Tex-Mex. Have you got to, have you become a fan of it?
I've always been a huge fan of Tex-Mex. Here's the thing about New Jersey: the place we lived in, New Jersey, had a very large Mexican population. From Mexico. They were all, for the most part, they were day laborers and migrant workers, but great community. And the town we lived in last in New Jersey was about split half. The population was Mexican or Honduran, Central South American. Tex-Mex was huge up there. And I have to say, it was pretty damn close to what we get down here. I mean, I've had some exceptional Tex-Mex down here, though. Like, out of the ballpark good.
Now,
Yeah.
has the spice levels kicked up a notch since you come down here now? Because
No, because they were kicking it up back in these communities in New Jersey. Because we'd go to where the locals eat. We wouldn't go to like the one on Main Street. You gotta go down a couple side streets and down a dirt alley, to find some of these places.
And you can't, and see, you're in Austin, so you're in food truck capital. So I
Yeah.
know you've got to like. Is there any spots that are that reach out that stand out?
Yeah, my favorite by far is Las Truncas. It's right on Cesar Chavez and right near Second. It's Cesar Chavez. I can't remember the side street, but Las Truncas. It's a taco stand. And when we first started going there, we found it when we were visiting Vanessa's brother who lived down here. This is like 7-8 years ago. And he said, "Let me take you to this taco place. You get some real authentic like beef cheek and lengua." And I was like, "All right, let's try it out." And I fell in love with it. And the tacos were amazing. It's like Texas tacos. They were just incredible. So that's a frequent place. Anytime I do a shoot downtown, I got to hit Las Truncas. Like, I got to swing by. Yeah, there's a place actually right down here. We're up in the hill country, which is kind of like northwest Austin, outside of the city limits, and then sort of on your way to wine country. And there's a taco truck that opened up right down at the bottom of the hill here. And you go out of our community. Fantastic, man. I just love that. I love the food truck culture in general.
Oh yeah,
You can find anything.
yes. That's so like in Dallas they have Food Truck Alley. Fort Worth they do it, but Dallas is huge with it. And like you can go if you go to Clyde Warren Park, they will literally have about 20 food trucks there on the weekends, and you just got the pick of the litter. So
It's great. I love the ones that you find.
It never gets old. It never gets old either.
I love the ones that you find just in a gas station somewhere, like on one of the ranch roads going way out, or one you find like there was one I went to get my Jeep fixed, and I'm down at this like specialty Jeep place. Right, it was right outside of downtown, so you're somewhere on Mopac over there, and right across the street, there's in this like little broken down with a picnic table that was kind of broken in half. There's a little taco stand right there. That's where you get the best food. Those are the best taco places. Yeah.
All right, let's stop talking about food because I'm going to get hungry.
No, you
have to eat a taco in the middle of the show. So Rob, let's take a dive into the history of Rob Adams, man. When did you pick up the camera?
Oh man, I'm going to take you way back. I first got my hands on my first like prosumer semi-professional camera in 1994. I was a student at Morehead State University in Kentucky. I had gone there. I was a crappy high school student. I just lost my mom about a year before. My dad had been gone already like 7 or 8 years. And I just wanted to get out of New Jersey. So I ended up in Kentucky, of all places. And I was studying art, like drafting, painting, that sort of thing. And I was in the class one day, my first year, and I'm looking to the right and I look to the left and I see these people and they're drawing and they're drafting and they're doing their thing. And it was light years. I mean, way above my skill or talent level. And I recognized that immediately. I wasn't deluded. I didn't sit there and go, man, that kind of hurts to see somebody do good work. But I just knew right then and there it wasn't for me. So I had a good friend who I'd met that year who said, well, since you're not into that major anymore and you want to switch, come check out radio television. It's fun. It's easy. It's fun. Learn like DJing and all this crap. So this is back now the school's program wasn't that sophisticated. So we were learning on literal turntables and like the 70s style studio with the old knobs and, these, the carts, the 8-track carts that you would use for sound bites, So I studied radio and TV and I got into the production end in TV, but I got into the on-air world in radio. So I was doing, before long, I was working at the campus radio station. I was a news announcer. I was a DJ. I had a talk show for a brief stint. And then on the production side, I was working with studio cameras, and then we'd occasionally go out and produce things in the field for like the campus news channel. But I would start by filming just, sporting events, going out there, getting a few quick, I did the power zoom where you take the zoom and you just crank it and you get this like pull zoom out. I thought that was so cool at the time. But these are old video cameras, like 3/4 inch tape. So that was 1994. Right when I was coming out of college, the digital age was starting to creep in. So we were going from Betacam to Beta, Digibeta, and then on to the first digital video format, which is mini DV or DV Cam. What was the other one? HD Pro or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had no choice, but when I got out into the professional world after college, I had to learn this stuff. Like otherwise on the cutting edge, you would be kind of irrelevant. But I was in Kentucky, so they were kind of like 10 years, 20 years behind the technology. So we were still working tape. I moved back to New Jersey and worked at a radio station. And this is where I really started to pick up the camera. Because I had known like what to do with a video camera, but I had very little photography experience and understanding of like, the exposure triangle, how shutter speeds work and how open gate works. Because I'd never worked in cinema. It was always just video, point and shoot video. So working in radio in New Jersey, get hired in Manhattan and realize I'm not going to make it, even though it was the #1 market. I was getting paid like $19K a year trying to live in the city. Wasn't going to work. So my friend who was a DJ said, come DJ with me. He's a wedding DJ. I'm like, a fucking wedding DJ? I was like, really? We're going to go do this, right? We get out there and I'm watching the videographer at this wedding, this first one I'm doing with him. And the guy is literally, he has this massive tripod, like one of these Bogan dinosaurs from like 1972 with a massive head on it. And on top of it was a tiny little Sony PD-150, like this, 3-chip, CCD camera. Attached to a car battery, like, and it had the car battery on a base, and I'm like, what is going on here, right? And I understood the digital formats. I kind of was just getting into it myself. So I went over to him during the vendor meal, and I said, hey, let me ask you a question. How much do you charge? Is this your company or he's my company? I said, what do you charge for a wedding? Like to just come out and video a wedding, clean it up, put it on tape. Oh, I charge like $12.50. That was more than I made in a month.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
And I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I started doing my homework on some of the more advanced technology at the time. And just around that time, I had somebody in radio introduce me to her husband, and he had a video business, a languishing video. This guy was stuck in 1986, star fades and editing tape to tape. And he was, servicing a very high-end clientele in this large Jewish community in New Jersey. And I got connected with him, and I came in there and taught him. After I taught myself, I taught him the very first version of Adobe Premiere. Basically, just brought him into the digital age. And he went from like the video toaster to like this old program that doesn't even exist anymore. And I taught him Premiere, and I helped him kind of rebuild his business. And then he's like, well, would you like to come shoot for me? Now, he had the Sony DSR 300A. It's this massive shoulder camera with the big telephoto lens. You had to have a round hood on the front of it because if you had a square one, it would twist. And it was all DV cam. And I shot probably close to 400 or 500 weddings with this company over the course of like 4 years.
Wow.
Because in the Jewish community, the Sephardic Jewish community there, it's ultra Orthodox, and they would have weddings Wednesday, Thursday, not on the Sabbath, Sunday, sometimes on Monday. And this is like a community in Brooklyn that had like, 100,000 people they would all go to each other's weddings. Crazy, like 2,000 people at a wedding. Seriously.
Okay.
So I cut my teeth shooting these, and they weren't, for the most part, weren't creative. They were, you'd film a little bit of the photo session. We never did bride's prep. Like you just show up right before the ceremony, you capture some portraits, you put some baby pictures in there, and you cut the thing together. And that was the video. It was like 4 hours long. But I got really good at like learning how to anticipate action and learning digital media formats and editing, because the editing technology was getting so advanced so quickly. Like we moved to Final Cut, and like that was a big deal, the first version of it, So from that point on, I just sort of ran his business until he got sick. He was an older guy, so he got sick, and he gave me an option. He goes, you could either take over my company and I'll pay you what would amount to be like a third, or he's like, I wouldn't fault you, because I'm thinking about getting out. I wouldn't fault you if you went and started your own thing. And that's what I did. So I ended up, because I was already doing sales for him. So I understood like the whole wedding sales process. And I wanted to get into doing regular weddings where we do brides prep. I started to watch like Ray Roman's work. And I'm like, holy crap, like DSLRs were just starting to hit the market. And yeah, I started my business in 2006. So we're talking now 1994 to 2006. That was the coming up through the introduction into the wedding world. And then from that point, things just exploded because we became one of the first to really adopt the DSLR technology into weddings, master it, use it in a storytelling fashion. There was probably a handful of us nationwide doing that at the time. And this is right around 2007, 2008, 5D Mark II. You know, this was the genesis of the new wedding film era. And then I met Vanessa, and I had met her on a wedding in 2005, but we were friends. We were platonic, probably a little bit of tension there, but it wasn't like we were really going to start dating. I was in relationships. She was in relationships. And then about 2008, that all just kind of came to a head. We got together, and then from there we started the whole teaching realm. So up to this point, now I was shooting about 50 weddings a year, and it was a lot because I had to train my crew to use this new technology. I luckily found, do you know Nino, our second shooter, our primary second shooter? Have you heard
I
of
think
him?
I've met him a few times. The name is familiar. I met him a few
Yeah.
times on some of the shoots.
So I met him in 2010. He and I basically developed our visual style over those years. He was a photographer that understood DSLR video. He wanted to get more into video, and he has been all over the world with me. I mean, he's my prime to this day. He runs my associate team up in New Jersey. You know, so together, I can't even take full credit for the success we had with our work because he's literally 50% of it, and he's done such a great. He's still active today. Does great work, but he really kind of helped me to understand photographic principles and how they apply to DSLR video. So he was a big catalyst for me learning the new technology, up until that point. And then we just started getting better and better clients. We started like getting crazy clients. I had some videographers bringing me around the world to film their weddings. So we started going into this realm of doing like probably way too many weddings per year.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to it, it's like, for lack of a better term, you dove into the deep end, and
Yeah.
your introduction to it is definitely something that's not seen as much today. Even though there's a lot of opportunity for similar breakouts into video, it just, for lack of a better term, people are lazy and they don't want to dive in the deep end like that and take on I want to learn how to do this, but I want to get paid during the same time. That's what we deal with today, where people don't want to intern anymore, or they don't want a second shoot, or they don't want or third shoot, or they don't want to shadow, which I'm like, dude,
Mhm.
before you start taking money from people, know how to do the job.
As
That,
far as weddings go, 100%.
especially with video, because you only get one chance to get it right. You can't.
Right. The difference now is, as opposed to like 10, 15 years ago, is that the talent pool now is way bigger.
Oh yeah,
There are
absolutely.
so many young people that understand this technology on a level probably that you and I don't even understand. I mean, they're born and raised with it. These people were raised, they don't know anything but this, the new technology, the cinema cameras, the color grading techniques, the editing programs. Like they are born into it in the golden age, right? I mean, we are living in the golden age of media right now before
Oh yeah.
AI takes over.
Oh yeah. And so if you want to be humble, look at it. Go find a 19-year-old right now and watch them smoke you when it comes to like editing something so fast, and you're like, what the hell just happened?
It's crazy, and I love to see it too because I remember how hard it was to find a capable second shooter in 2011. Like in 2011, if Nino got sick, I was panicking because there was nobody around that could handle the camera like he could. He could fly Steadicam, and we did have the full Steadicam rigs and stuff. We were doing reality show style wedding videos prior to this, before Justin Porter was even a house, before he was born, probably. How old is Justin? What, he's at like 30?
Justin's in his 30s, yeah.
He's in his 30s. Okay, so he was young.
And last week I said, they're like Justin super high. Like somebody was talking about him a few months back, and I said, I'm just waiting for his age to catch up to him because I see the stuff he does, the running around and jumping. I'm like, yeah, dude, my knees and back are feeling it now.
I was doing that at weddings up until my like late 30s, and then I was like, you know what? This is starting to suck a little bit.
I'm 42 and I feel it now. Like, oh, you think I want to do back-to-back weddings? It's not because I'm lazy.
No.
Pain, son.
I'm in
And
pain after one
oh
now.
my gosh, yeah. It's especially it's
Yeah,
a 10-hour
but
day and it's kicking your butt. You're like, oh God, I gotta do this
yeah, yeah.
tomorrow.
We were doing that kind of reality show running around multicam with an audio person style back still on video camera in those days. We were trying to make that interesting, which was hard to do. You couldn't do creative really. You had to kind of be a little bit outside the box. We did the wedding shows were real popular like on TLC, and it's the wedding story and four weddings that was so popular at the time. So we were kind of capitalizing on that.
Dude, do
But
not bring me
I
up Four Weddings because that show was supposed to make my career back in the day because I did the Four Weddings. I did two of the brides. I did their weddings for that episode, and I said I thought I was supposed to get like all this clout and everything. I signed
don't
all
give a
these
shit.
NDAs. I didn't, man. That shit was the biggest nightmare ever because I had to not only combat with the videographer, but then the Four Weddings video team, and they showed like 8 people, and I'm like, all right, so who's the fucking videographer? And it's like then I got to remember like the first wedding, I didn't. They briefed me enough to say, okay, the way this goes is these three women, we're gonna follow them the entire time. So like I would sit there, be taking a picture or something, and then they come walking by, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck is up? I
But
didn't
yeah,
get it yet, and then I figured it out. And when I got the second bride, they were like, dude, you did really good managing all the different crews that they had for the wedding. So then the second bride, who I did her wedding, they were totally like absolutely, blown away because it was such a, it was obviously like a 6 week difference between the two weddings,
hmm
and I was able to figure out on the second wedding what not to do now because now I had that body of work with the first wedding. And I was jokingly saying, like, man, I'm gonna mess around and end up doing all four of these weddings because I did the first two brides, but then the other two brides ended up going with someone else. But they turned
yeah.
into one of those things where it's like I hired one of them hired me. They're actually friends, so she told me who they hired. And I had a good, again, young in the career. This 2016, I think it was. So they were like, yeah, he's got good pricing. So I got hired for both of those ways. But this was supposed to be my career maker, and I'm like, yes. And it didn't make shit.
No, I did Snooki's wedding in 2013 from Jersey Shore, and at the time, like she was big at the time. She was really well known, and the paparazzi like made. I mean, between the reality show and the paparazzi and the security, that wedding was a nightmare. And it was in the middle of winter. It gets dark at 4:30. Like it was brutal. But I've worked with them. That her production company was pretty bad. We had some pretty bad interactions that day, even prior to having like pre-production meetings with them with the production company. Worked with David Totera a couple times. It wasn't so bad, except for the fact that it was one of those wedding secret shows where they don't let the bride see anything
Okay,
until
I
the day
remember
of the
that one.
wedding.
I
And
remember
so
that shit.
we couldn't even see it. Like they wouldn't even let the photographer and videographer shoot the dress or the shoes or details until the bride, it was revealed like on camera. And they made the bride each walk in like and cued them. It was all staged and they told them what to say and everything. It was the most ridiculous.
I
I'll
did
never do another one with a reality show ever again.
I did one with one of his I want to say sister companies, and you want to talk about the challenge. The day of the wedding, I don't know what's going on because they control the schedule of everything. So we're sitting there.
Everything.
Everything was I have to stand next to this planner and wait for him to tell me that I can do this and do that. I'm like, I could have been done already. Like, don't do the cake yet. I'm like, I need to get pictures of the cake. He's like, you'll go. I have you scheduled to do the cake at this time. I'm like, what about
Yeah. You end up just being a set photographer. That's all
Yeah,
you end up
it was
being.
just like,
It's
dude, it's like
yeah.
this isn't fun, So people think
No.
like, oh my gosh, you got to do this and do that, and it's like, it's no, it's not as fun as you think it is. But
No, it's not. And you can make their life hell if you really want, but then it's just a bad reflection on you
exactly,
professionally. Like we could easily derail their whole production. Like I know exactly what to do, what buttons to press, but it's not a professional thing. You don't want to ruin the day for the bride.
exactly. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's still about your couple, and I think that's what I always remember, no matter how like frustrated. Because I mean, there are times like you got producers coming out of nowhere saying something, then you have the planner saying one thing, you have the producer of the TV show or the behind the scenes person saying something, and you're over there like, all right, we got too many chefs. And then in just like,
hmm
then you got the bride who we answer to. Like at this point, she's stressing out because she's got 4 people in her ear. You got a maid of honor, and you got the mother-in-law, and you got the planner, then you got the producer of the show, and you're like,
Yeah, not to mention 18 cameras in her face.
exactly.
It's that's not normal. And the production company for Snooki's wedding actually told me because we talked ahead of time, and I said, "So give me the numbers, like for real. How many camera operators you guys gonna have? I'll probably have like 2 at bride's prep, 2 at groom's prep, and then like a total of like 5 walking around for the day." I'm like, I can work with that. I can work with that. We'll make it work. We'll communicate. We'll all, camera ops are cool. We'll make it work. And then we got to the bride's prep, and there were 8 because you had 3 camera units all triangulating plus an audio tech, and then all the little girl producers running around with their little clipboards. They had a Panasonic AGX 100s, and they were shooting like little cameras. I was like, this is insane. Like Never again.
The
Never
only other
again.
one where I was another headache was Bridezilla. And the reason
Yeah.
they were like, hey, we want to create a scenario. Like they come to me, they wanted me to create one where they say, hey, we want it to look like where you showed up late and you and the bride get into an argument. I said, I'm not doing that.
Fuck no.
Because
I'm
first,
not risking my business reputation for your stupid show.
because
No.
first off, you're trying to present this thing that like one, I've never met this bride. This was a college friend of mine. I was shooting her wedding. This was early in my career, but I was like, no. So I didn't sign any of the NDAs. So when you look at the episode, you never see me, and I was edited out of everything because I wouldn't sign the NDA and all that other stuff they wanted me to sign. I wouldn't do it because I'm not because the story that they sold was his mom was a well-known wedding planner in Arizona, which she was, and they wanted to create the storyline that the mom was trying to take over the wedding when in reality it was not. And if you knew Haley, she was like, dude, they're paying for everything. Like, if they say we're getting married here, we're going to get married here. Like, that's what was. It's like, no, it was not that. I was like, dude, they had her looking so fake on that. So I was like, dude, she doesn't even act like that. Like, I watched the show and I just laughed at it. I was like, I'm never again. But
yeah, and then it's funny too because I produced a reality show last year for a local client. It was more of a marketing thing, not like a for distribution kind of thing. It was a hair salon out here in Austin or Lakeway, and she moved out from LA with her whole family. 26-year-old girl. She's a master of what she does, like color. And then she started a salon, and she wanted to do like it was her brother-in-law's idea. He's a marketing guy. To do like instead of like spending all this money on ads, let's just produce a 6-episode reality show, and let's put it on YouTube, and we'll use that in our socials, and we'll get that to drive a client base and get. So they basically, the first episode was all about interviewing and hiring stylists to staff this show, and the drama just kind of happened on its own. But the problem was they shot it over there was too much time between episodes, and then like the dynamic would change between the girls and management, or shit would go down, and we weren't there to capture it. So we couldn't really have this like cohesive story arc. But for those 6 episodes, it promotes the crap out of the salon in a way that's like engaging. And they have celebrity clients now. They have influencers, like the Undertaker's wife goes there. Like they've really built a great brand out of it. So I mean, as far as a marketing push, I would do those all day because that's not like a for TV distribution kind of thing.
Man, so we went all over the place. Oh gosh, so many other questions I want to ask. So okay, so when I definitely wanted something that I wanted to hit on was when did you start to, I guess, creatively change up the way you were filming your wedding videos? Because obviously, when you first started, you're a heavily Jewish population. It's kind of one standard. It's always been that way, very traditional. You get this, you get that. Steady cams. You're on tripods. You're not moving around a lot. How did you go from that to the cinematic look, which what you're known for? And you mentioned someone like Ray Roman, who is mentor to us both, or whatever. When you start trying to capture that essence of creating these cinematic moments for these couples, when did that kind of transition to that? And then I'll go on to my next transition question.
Yeah, that came about with the release of the Canon 5D Mark II. So before then, we were shooting primarily video camera. We had dabbled a little bit with the Letus lens adapters, where they, it kind of gives it that film look. They were too cumbersome; it just didn't work ergonomically on a wedding. So we had gone from that reality show format to like just doing like creative highlights videos where we'd do a bride's prep montage in the beginning of the video, and then you'd have the whole ceremony, right? And then you'd have a photo session montage, set the music with like black and white and color, just the flowers and all that. And then the reception, and then at the end you'd have a recap of the whole day and baby picture montage at the beginning, like 2600. That was everything you got. It took 6 weeks to edit. It was freaking horrible. And then when I saw what some other guys were doing with the DSLR stuff, I was like, I'd love to learn how to do that. And that's where right around the same time Nino came on board. I was learning more of the DSLR photographic style. He was injecting his talent and knowledge into that as well. And then right around like 2010, 2011, we started filming these weddings from the perspective of we're not shooting for coverage anymore. We're shooting for the individual cinematic shot. We're looking at everything through a creative lens. And then of course you had to roll on the ceremony, the vows, the toasts, but we were not giving them the whole video. We were literally just giving them, like, at the time we started at like an 8-minute, and then it grew to like 15 and then 20. We were giving these 20-minute long cinematic cuts that had a mix of like a little bit of the real-time stuff and then a lot of the heavy creative couldn't even really do real slow motion back then, but you were just going for that dynamic look with color grade, actually employing color grading techniques. We're trying to get cameras to match and trying to get, because one guy would be shooting on like a 5D Mark II and another guy would be shooting on a 5D Mark III. This is when that came out. And then like somebody would be on like a Panasonic GH2, because we were struggling to find shooters, and you could just find shooters where you could. We finally locked down our style, I think in 2014 when the C100 came out. When the Canon C100 came out, I bought 3 of them at $5,000 a piece when they first came out.
Oh my God, just here.
And this is, they're 1080p, 20, you could do 30 frames per second interlace, like no good frame rates. It was just literally meant to shoot a high def video at 23.98 with no log at the time. It was really like very, very limiting. But at least we had 3 cameras that all looked the same and we could produce a consistent look throughout. So that's sort of how the style, evolved into that up to that point. And then from there, it was just like every year was an exponential increase in the quality, learning good audio, really taking it to the next level and landing the big jobs that were marquee.
And just to preface everyone, the reason I said that hurt my good, because during that time, 5,000 is like, felt like 20. It's like 20 grand today. So during that time, 5,000 was a lot of money. Now I know we kind of shrug at 5,000 because if you get a new Canon R5 Mark II, you're gonna drop that, or if you get the A9 or whatever. So yeah, we blink at it today, but during that time, God, that was a new car for me.
It was a nut. It was a nut. I mean, luckily we could still use our I bought 3. Luckily you could still use your it was all EF mount. We weren't using monitors at the time. It's changed so much. Like we were just looking for 3 cameras that felt good in the hand, that could give a good cinematic look, and that looked really good, and that we could grade. And it ended up being the perfect tool for a few years. I think we used them for like 2 or 3 years, and then with the 5D Mark IV, I actually switched to Panasonic for a time. Don't
sponsors got it.
We keep that low in this house. But I was shooting Panasonic up until Vanessa basically said, I'm a Canon EOL now. You can't shoot me with the Panasonic. Like, if you produce content for me, we have to use a Canon. And I was like, I guess you're right. So we moved back.
It's so funny you say that, and I'm doing my best to, we said Vanessa, cat's out the bag, y'all. He said to Vanessa a couple of times, if you haven't figured out, Rob is the trophy husband to I always say one of my generational talented photographers in my generation, someone that's been a mentor to me. We'll just go ahead and let the cat out the bag. Rob is the trophy husband to Vanessa Joy.
Yes, I am.
If you're a photographer, if you're a wedding photographer, she's on the who's who. She's on most people that I know. They're Mount Rushmore's best wedding photographers in the world. Probably, definitely in the nation, but definitely in the world. So she's a well-known photographer, which let's caveat to that. Let's go ahead. How did you, obviously congratulations on like me being a trophy husband, but how did you get into a relationship with the enemy? Because, there's always been this friction between videographers and photographers. How did you get past that hatred?
We actually, at the time we met on weddings, it was before DSLRs. So life was easy. When I would go out to shoot a wedding, there was no stress. There was no, oh my God, I got to get this amazing shot. It was just coverage. You were there covering the day, and you'd put out of whatever you got, you put something together. Like we weren't vying for time with the couple to get what we wanted. There would be times where I'd say, hey, the light's really cool, let's try a silhouette here, this and that. But it wasn't like it is now, right? So when I met her, she was just a shooter for another photography company. She was working for her high school photography teacher who had a wedding business. And she, I would see her probably 7 or 8 times a year on weddings. Like we would constantly run into each other. And when we did, it was always like, it was very friendly. We got along great. And she was always like a team of female photographers for the most part. And then, I started thinking to myself, oh, she's pretty attractive. If it ever comes to a point where I get a chance and I'm not with somebody, or because I was always in one relationship to the next, maybe I'll ask her out. But we got along great, like just as friends on these weddings. So there was no friction. Ironically, the friction came much later after we were together. And then trying to work together on a wedding without me severely pissing her off was always a challenge. I mean, because mainly we were developing into this style of we have to get this, we have to get that, 3 camera everything, run here, run there, make them do this, make them do that. First look, mine. Nobody else touches first look. Like I had this very like militant attitude an approach to the day that was much more serious than it was in the very beginning, right? So that didn't mesh very well because Vanessa, her personality and her temperament has not changed at all in the entire 20 years I've known her. She's very even keeled. She's very in control. She's very mellow until you push her past a certain point. But it was always me that looked like the stark raving lunatic because I wanted this, I wanted that, and I felt like I had to fight for the, my spot to get my fair share of the kill, right? So that caused a lot of contention early on, and actually caused problems at home personally because it brought out a side in me that isn't really me, like I per se, but the intensity of the job and the product we were trying to produce was creating that. And maybe it was a byproduct of my personality. I didn't like who I was. She didn't like who I was, and was like, all right, we got to like find a way to coexist and work together where we both get what we need and neither of us feel slighted or playing second fiddle. And that took literally 15 years.
Because I mean, I gotta imagine the car rides. I'm like, I've openly said it. I love my wife more than life in itself. Everyone knows Tasha is my world, but I love her enough to know that I don't want to work with her because I want to enjoy work, and I don't want to have that awkward, silent car ride home. And there's just like, either we play some trap music or we just go ahead and have it out in this car right now. It's like either we're listening to trap music, we're getting it out of our system, we're screaming to the music, or we're going to scream at each other because, I mean, I can only imagine those car rides of after like an intense day. And again, because we know how much pressure we put on ourselves as creatives, as a business, as a creative, you think about everything as a whole. Those moments of like clarity, like how were you able to overcome those things?
Just with time and mutual respect, and also just a chilling out factor on my part. The way I approach a wedding today is completely the opposite. It's almost like full circle back to the way it was originally. Don't get me wrong, we still make use of multiple cameras. We're making sure we're getting the shots that we need, but I'm much more adept and astute now at, I'm a better shooter now than I was 20 years ago, I feel like, anyway. And I mean, as you should be. And I feel like I can get the shots more easily, even if I'm a little rusty and haven't shot a wedding in a while, because I don't do a ton these days. But when I go on the wedding, it's like a bicycle memory. You just sort of kick back into it and you realize what you have to get. But my approach to it is much more chill. And I can go throughout the day and not ruffle too many feathers. The technology makes it easier now. Like before, if I wanted to mic a bride, I needed like 5 minutes of access to the bride before she walked out because I had to like put the thigh strap on her, run the wire, go up the back of the dress.
I remember, and I was like, the part of the air was like, oh, I was like, dude, you don't understand how much I hate this part of my job. I've had to go and the thing is, I tell people like, please don't take pictures of it. They think I'm making a joke and haha. No, like I literally don't want a picture of somebody seeing my hands up her thigh. Right. I'm on a knee. Just there's no angle that makes it look okay.
No, and then the groom sees those photos later and it's like, what the deuce? Right.
That is exactly why. It's up there when the bride gets a boudoir session done by me and doesn't tell her husband until after the fact. And then I have that awkward moment and I'm like, dude, I swear to God, if you could get all the pictures, there were 6 other people there. It wasn't just me.
I didn't know she was married.
Mom was there too. Mom was there too. Mom egged it all on. Mom told her to take the top off.
That's
But I always make sure that's very clear. Like I'm like, oh, let me mic the bride, but I make sure there are people there. Like but now,
yeah. Like, but now, dude, you walk over. I walk over.
I don't even mic the bride anymore.
No, I do. I walk over though with the little DJI mic, the little pack, and I go, here, put this in your cleavage, and they go boop, and they stick it right down in there. It's perfect. You don't see it, and I get clean audio every time.
Yeah, I just stopped doing with the mic. I just do it with the groom and the officiant, and I've always gotten clean audio. The only time I might mic them is if we're doing like first private vow readings. I'll just have her like, like she's holding it, and she can hold her thing, or I'll go ahead and mic her real fast. But most of the time I just say, do you want to be mic'd? They'll tell me no, and his microphone's catching everything anyway, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I've had. That's the way we were doing it for a long time because I didn't want to go through the hassle of miking up the bride. But then a few times, like you get these officiants that don't know any better and they're standing like a mile apart. I've had that happen. So it's like a good fail safe to make sure you're nailing it, like you're getting it. But the technology today has just made shooting, like I can really be more relaxed because I'm shooting in Canon Log 2. I've got a ton of dynamic range. I got 32-bit float on my audio recorders. Like I'm not too concerned. Like if I'm just generally capturing and shooting creative, if I just think of it from that way and take my mind off the big production aspect of it, because that's all handled. Like it's going to be fine. And I trust my shooters now. And it's because everybody, like I said before, the talent pool has gotten bigger. So if I need a good shooter in a city that I've never been to, it takes one visit to the Facebook group. You look at a couple people who's working, you go, that guy can do the job. Like, I know he's got enough skill that he's not going to completely botch being a second shooter or a third shooter or something like that. So that's comforting and it's relaxing. I don't go into the day stressed out anymore. And the best part, like you said before, there's none of those awkward rides home. You know, it's just sort of like, you do your thing, I do my thing. We probably don't even speak most of the day because we're just busy doing our thing. We'll catch up at the reception. She's always doing a same day edit anyway, and she's busy. So a lot of times we'll see each other over coffee at the end, you know. We're just busy.
You don't gotta look over and give her that disdain, like, so you want to get something to eat or not?
Yeah.
Like, that's like the most shitty way
okay?
to apologize. That shitty way to apologize. You have to gauge how pissed off she is. You know, like, you know,
Yeah.
like, is it Waffle House pissed off? Okay, she's not too mad. But then it's like, oh, I gotta take her to like an actual steakhouse at 11 o'clock at night and buy her a real dinner right now. Damn.
No, she's never been won over by things like that.
You missed out then.
Nope. Can't buy it back. Can't buy it. But you got to earn it back. You got to earn
nope,
it back.
I'm going to hold this over your head.
And now that we have kids too, it's different because I mean we don't work together as much anymore because we just logistics won't allow it. Like between child care and school, and she travels 150 days a year for like speaking engagements and photo content trips, and it's like I don't really have the time to or the luxury anymore of traveling for work and going here and going there and doing this and doing that. I got to do F1 in Vegas this year, shooting for somebody else. That was a lot of fun. But that was literally the first like exciting out of town shooting excursion I've had in a couple of years because I've been so, you know, wrapped up at home. But at least it does take the tension out of things. Like I can be more of a support role for her behind the scenes here with all of her content, and instead of like standing shoulder to shoulder on a set trying to hash it out. You know what I mean?
And I can tell you from experience, I mean, like, honestly, like, what you're doing right now is so instrumental to your family's success. And that's because that's ultimately what it is. You know, when I transitioned out of corporate America and went full time, I was able to be a stay at home dad, quote unquote. But I had to deal, you know, my ego got hit a lot when people would say, so you don't work? And I'm like, no, I'm a photographer. And like, so you don't have a job? Like, dude. And then in my head, I'm like, I want to be like, bitch, I make more money than you. Do you not know how much money I make? And it's
You're
like,
right, I don't have a job. I have a business.
Yeah, and you're like, I run a business. So you like try to explain it to them, and then my wife being so chill, she was like, dude, I don't care what they say. I know what you're doing, and I know how important it is. You know, big thing was we had a new baby. She didn't want to put her in daycare, and I get it. Now that we've had daughters and go through daycare, and we've dealt with the sicknesses, and we've dealt with the trips to the ER and everything, and we went through a pandemic. I'm like, it was so instrumental for me to be at home during that time.
Yeah.
And then it was like when the weekends hit, I'd go out and work. She'd take care of the kids then, and we just traded off, and it worked for us. And
that's a great paradigm, actually. You know, I mean, you are always kind of like two ships passing in the night. I mean, I guess you have your weeknights, but you know,
oh yeah, no, we got creative. You know, it was like we were going movie nights during the weekdays. You know, it was easier to get people to watch them during the weekday than on the weekend. And then she watched them. And then when I didn't have a wedding or I had a free weekend, we try to plan the vacations around that. We learned to just, you know, living in the great state of Texas, you can go to so many local places for vacation. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you've got the coast, you've got wine country.
South Padre Island is one of my favorite places in the world. So
we have yet to go. I've yet to be down there. I've not seen
you gotta make
the coastline yet.
ASAP. Yeah. That is a must do for you. I'm pretty sure you went. I know from the years I've known Vanessa, I'm pretty sure you guys hit wine country up like right away as soon as you got there.
We did actually, and we do visit out there when we can. We have literally just been slammed for the last year and a half. I'm not even kidding. Like it's been foot all the way down to the floor, no breaks between the kids. Like they're at that age where they just require attention for every little thing. Soccer games on Saturdays, gymnastics, like it's jujitsu. It's
you did they got you into doing gymnastics?
My daughter does. Yeah, I mean, you know, but she's not doing it like hardcore where it's like four days a week. She goes one day a week. Okay. It's like the after school activity for one day of the week.
Okay, I thought you were a gym dad. I was about to say, oh man,
So my son does jujitsu, and he's just turned 7, so he's just now learning. They're just now teaching him how to like actually grapple. But he does soccer, and we've had so much fun going to the soccer games and stuff. So he was on a spring league, and then now he's on the winter league, and he's gonna be back on the spring league again. So that's like that keeps us busier than anything else. But I love it. Like I love the whole sports environment, so I don't mind it.
I'm gonna go ask the typical Texas question. Your son's 7. He's at that age. Are you putting him in football?
If he wants to. If he wants to. I don't think he's going to be the football type. He's not a rough and tumble 7-year-old. He's more of like a thoughtful, introspective, very intelligent, but he loves soccer. He'll go out there and kicks, scores goals. He does a great job, but I wouldn't say he's going to be like that. I was a very late bloomer, masculine wise. Like, I don't think he's going to have the size of the brawn to be playing football in high school if he's anything like me.
Yeah, because I mean, again, there is a level of violence and crazy that you haven't experienced yet until you become a football dad, and then you see
right
when they say they own that football is a religion here. You will see it when you take kids in high school, and you're like, oh wait, this is a high school game.
The high school stadium down the road seats just as many people as the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, the arena. Like it seats like 30,000 people or something like that. It's wild for a high school. It's got a jumbotron. I mean, it's like Friday Night Lights.
It really is
exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yep. Dealing with drunk parents and food trucks, and then you got the game playing in front of 15,000. That's why when I lived in Arizona and they were talking about the football games, I was like, I'm from Texas. Do you not know like what you guys play in front of as a high school? I played in front of in middle school. I was playing in front of 15,000. State playoffs, you're getting a crowd of 15 to 20,000 easily.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, my friend just went to the high school playoffs up by you. Was it last week or the week before?
Yep.
On that. He's like, it's incredible. Yeah. First of all, you're in that stadium, and then there's just tons of people watching high school football and absolutely losing their minds. I mean, I think every state that has a college that has a semi-good Division I NCAA football team thinks their state is a football state. Like when I lived in Kentucky, they're like, this is Wildcat country. We got like the best It's like, Kentucky's okay, right? They're okay compared to the Longhorns. Okay. But you come down here and it really is like, if you don't like college, like I was never big into college football until this year, because you can't live here and not get wrapped up in the Longhorn hysteria. It's everywhere.
Right, so, if you want to piss people off, wear maroon on a Saturday if you want to.
Yeah, no thanks.
You think growing up in the gangland was bad? No. You need to grow up in college town. Wear maroon at any time during Saturday.
Well, I saw that damn pep rally. I'd never seen an Aggie pep rally, and though I saw that one where the dude was like rapping, but he had like overalls on, looked like a hillbilly, but he was like saying some wild shit. He was like a male cheerleader, but he had like a loudspeaker and stuff. I've never seen anything like that to hype up anybody. It was just the weirdest pep rally. That's like College Station stuff, right? That's like Aggie A&M culture over there. It was a little strange.
When OU tries to migrate their way down to the great state of Texas and bring their shenanigans here.
Red River rivalry.
Oh man.
Yeah, this is literally my first year watching and absorbing and being entertained by college football, and I love it. Now I'm not even thinking about NFL. I'm like, my Giants are out. They suck. The worst team in the league. I can't stand the Cowboys. So I'm like, all right,
Well, see, again, that's another thing. Living in Texas, you have a love-hate with the Cowboys. If you grow up here, you're forced to love them. So, welcome to your first abusive relationship. That's,
You don't have to tell me, man.
You don't know toxic relationships till you become a Cowboy fan, or you're forced to.
I'm a lifelong New York Mets fan. That's how bad it is for me. Yeah, we're the Mets, MEH. They're a tough organization to stick behind for 50 years.
Is it like the Knicks? It's like being a Knicks fan.
I'm not into basketball, but I mean, I hear all my friends who are like, I can't even watch the Knicks. Some of them just become, New Jersey fans. They're like, I just can't watch them anymore. They're abysmal. And every year you get your hopes up, and then you just get completely shattered. Kind of like being a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Oh yeah. Every year, we're at that stage of, all right, next year's we're gonna make some moves during the off season. I'm like, dude, we are a dumpster fire. So.
Well, the funny thing is, you guys always start out pretty good. You'll be like 3-2, right? Then you'll go like 3. Then you'll go 3-3, and then you're like 4-3. It's okay. Cowboys are hanging in, and then the wheels come off, and then you guys just lose 6 straight. The quarterback snaps both his ankles.
It's like, all right, who's the number one team? 49ers number one team. Detroit's number one team. Green Bay's the top. We beat all the contender teams. Then all of a sudden, we lose to Philly. Then we lose to New Orleans. We lose to like the most random teams that we weren't not supposed to lose to. It's like Tampa Bay is 0-17. They got their win against the Cowboys.
It's been a weird year just in terms of like upsets, and the NFC East for all the teams in the NFC East to be as bad as they are really is like, I mean, the Eagles outstanding. I still don't think they're going to go all the way. They're the only ones that sort of hung on, but the rest of the division is abysmal. Like I've never seen the NFC suck so bad in my life. It's really bad. Yeah.
You kind of know who you're going to be. Your contenders are for each division, like Detroit. again, because they turned
Kansas
around
City, right?
Casey, who
San Fran,
Buffalo,
right? Yep.
Baltimore.
Tampa Bay was doing it right.
Yeah, the surprise, the shock of this playoffs was them getting taken out by Washington.
Yeah. This suddenly turned into an ESP that we're like a Mike and the Mad Dog all of a sudden.
I know.
Hey, what do you say there, Mikey?
Let's talk about cameras again. Nah. So,
okay. We turned into a sports show. The best damn sports show ever. Look at that.
Cameras, football, that's the way God. Photography and football. God country.
Yeah, God, yo. America. I love it.
Give me some whiskey. Man.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing I've gotten into that recently too. That's a new hobby, bourbon. Yeah. Yes. So like taking trips down to Kentucky with some friends. Also in the industry, Jordan Bunch.
Yep.
You know Jordan?
That name is familiar.
He lives up by you now, but originally he's from down. Well, he's from Fort Worth, but he lived down this way for a while. But he's Ladybird Studios. He's a pretty well-known videographer. And Joe Schweitzer. I don't know if you know Joe Schweitzer.
I know Joe.
From Schweitzer Film. So the three of us and another buddy of ours that lives up in Wisconsin, we all meet down for the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky each summer, and we drink way too much bourbon, eat way too much meat. Yeah, but that's become an obsession over there.
It's supposed to be that way, though. Get drunk, eat meat.
I'm not getting any younger, man. I'm trying to eke out a few more years over here.
Oh yeah, I'm going through the midlife crisis now. I'm training for a triathlon. I don't know why.
Ooh,
I don't. It's the most egotistical. Like I just want to hear that I'm an Iron Man.
You're going to do Iron Man.
I want to literally I'm doing the 70.3 first, and if I don't die, then I'm going to try to do the big one in Kona. But my friend just says, "Why?" I said, "Because no one else can do it." So it's like it's the ego in me is like I want to do something that when I walk in the room it's like maybe no one else has done this.
Yeah.
It's that. So I'm trying.
Not only finished, but I mean, 99% of people have never even attempted. So just getting in there and doing it and get, when the gun goes off, you've already done something that most people haven't.
Yeah, that, and then also I have this vision in my head that my daughter's gonna, she's now in college. Love you, Jaden. She's gonna date a guy, and they're like, so tell me about your dad, and then she's gonna show them my Instagram, and they're gonna see like, shit, your dad's a triathlon. They're gonna see gun. They're gonna see he's a triathlon, former military triathlon, competitor, gun. Oh, he's a knife expert. Wait, is that him cooking? That's just him working in a knife beer cooking. Wait, why am I dating you again, girl? This is no.
No, it's a good deterrent. Exactly. Wait till he comes to the house.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Like every boyfriend I've successfully kind of scared the shit out of. So
I'm not there yet. My daughter just turned 10, and I'm seeing the start of the tude. I'm seeing like the start of the attitude and the sass and the talking back, dude. And I know how bad I was as a kid, so this is like I'm repressing some serious bad memories because I'm trying to like quantify this little girl talking back to me with Vanessa's face because she looks just like her.
So this is gonna be your keywords from one father to another father. That's how to endure this.
Lock and load.
Look at Vanessa and say, "Baby, you better get her," because you don't want me to do it.
Yeah, no. See, I think it's the other way around. Vanessa doesn't take any shit from these kids. Like it is. I don't want to say she's strict, but I saw her with some green skin and a black hat walking around the other day.
Yeah, no.
She's no joke, man. The kids fear her. Like
so
I'm the good cop.
You're the good cop of the.
I'm good cop. I'm good cop. She wants me to be bad cop, but a lot of times I end up being good cop. And then when I'm bad cop, she tells me I'm just being an asshole. So I'm trying not to be an asshole, but I also want to be the good cop because I want my kids to like me. But I also have to be the bad cop because they step out of line, and then if she steps in before me, it's a problem.
Kind of like the way I do it is I look at what Tasha's doing and then I feed off of like, is she going bad cop? Then I kind of like ease it in there. But then it's like sometimes she'll go bad cop and then I just go like even worse cop, like, breaking laws.
You go bad lieutenant.
I'm hiding evidence, everything. It's like, oh, you thought mama's bad. And it's so, but we've learned that sometimes there's that situation where Tasha gets mad at Jaden for something and then Jaden will come to me and then she sees like, oh, wait, I'm pissed. And then she's like, oh, crap, I really messed up. And then it's almost like when I come down, because like me and Jade have such a unique relationship, when I come down on her, I think it hits her harder now because there is that essence of like, I want to make dad proud because she got to witness dad do so much to give them the life that they have. Like, and I don't say it out of anything. Yes, a respect thing. And, if I feel like, I say, you don't got to love me, but you can definitely respect me because you're going to respect your mom. You're going to respect what we gave you and what we did for you and how much we're going to sacrifice and continue to sacrifice for you. one day it's gonna all come together. You're gonna have this life, and you're gonna be like, my parents laid the foundations for me to have this. Like you're in college now, and the best place to be at in the world right now is to be in school getting an education. So take it for what it's worth, and just go out there and handle business.
Yeah,
that's how you honor us.
It's teaching them gratitude in all things, and then also that entrepreneurial spirit, which we've been trying to instill in my daughter. And she's excited. As she sets up a little table outside, and she'll walk around the house and ask us if, can I sell this? Can I sell this?
Nice.
She's got that spirit of like, and we did a milkshake stand one time. We went out and sold milkshakes, and it was way too hot to be selling milkshakes without a refrigerator. But we did it here in the community, and we advertised on like the little community Facebook page, and she was so excited. She made like $60 that day. But we did like a whole spreadsheet. Like, okay, this is what it's going to cost to buy the milk, the ice cream, the cups, the straws, ice. And then we literally like did the math. And so we're trying to like teach her these, business skills and finance, because nobody teaches the kids that stuff. So if I'll be a successful parent if my kids just understand how to balance, not even balance a checkbook these days, how to use QuickBooks, keep their finances in order, hold a job, and be respectful. If you can do that, you've won.
And not totally screw up your credit before the age of 25. Like,
I won't let them do that.
It's almost like I'm going to be the dad that intervenes if I have to. Like, look, I'm not going to let you make this mistake. You don't need a Range Rover at 21. Okay?
No.
You're going to drive the Chevy Cruze. You're going to be happy, damn it.
That's it. Well, yeah, you don't want to. That's the thing. Like, I see teenagers driving around in BMWs and stuff. You know what? Great. Good. I'm glad the parents have the resources to be able to give the kids that. And hopefully the kid earned it. Hopefully the kid did something to earn. Maybe she did. Maybe she worked her ass off for 6 summers in a row, cleaning ambulances. Who knows? Like, but make them do something. Like they need to be able to earn it. I want to teach my kids the value of hard work. We've done a really good job with that. I think they do understand that, and they see how hard we work.
Yes.
But not at the expense of the family. They always know it's for the family. We remind them of that. We're like, hey, the movie we went to see last night, you know how much that cost? And we'll tell them. They'll go, no, Daddy, how much? Say, it cost about $100 to go see that movie last night. $100? I'm like, yeah, it goes $100 to go see the movie with all the popcorn and everything like that. And, say thank you to mom.
Yes.
Just
something I said years ago was, don't ask for steak, but curse the butcher.
Right.
That was like the metaphor I always had. Like, it was, did I want to be the dad that works all the time? No, but because that's what I had growing up. But understand, I had enough respect to know that he did it for a reason. He had to work the 2 jobs, and he had to work the 80 hours a week. But I don't have memories of sleeping in a car, and I don't have memories of going hungry, and I don't have memories of not having clothes to wear and things. So to me, that's the sacrifice. Now, luckily, I've been able to level up, but it was so important for me to be so present these last 2 years as she was entering the last years of her high school. I mean, I can go on about parenting. Just really, I would say, you have a goal as a parent, stick with it. If you and your wife are on the same page, man, you can't go wrong,
No, that's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, again, it's love when you think about putting the pillow over their head and just hitting it repeatedly, and then, you got something there. But
special. It's all out of love. It's all out of love. I don't believe in gentle parenting.
Exactly. No. Yeah. Do you want to talk about it? No, no, you're not talking about me. You're going to go to your phone. You're going to be quiet.
There's some great memes and videos out there just slamming that. And I've tried it. I'll be honest with you. I did try it for a little while. You know what? Shit doesn't work.
I would say it works if you have the child that's already hardwired for that.
Maybe. And I have seen examples of it where people really don't ever raise their voice to their kids. But if I didn't, and honestly, I think even from a young age, before they even understood or I even wanted to raise my voice, if I didn't raise my voice, they didn't listen, So it almost we were all conditioned into this crazy environment. We don't scream at the kids, by the way. But I come from a big Italian family.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let the last name fool you. I'm mostly Italian. And everybody yelled, and that's the way you expressed anything, was through loud voices.
For me, it was, everyone's actions speak louder. So for me, it was, if I didn't say something to you, you should be worried. If I'm quiet, you should be worried. Like, there have been times where my daughter's like, will you please yell at me now? Because she knows she screwed up. Like, when it's one of those, I'm so mad that I leave the house.
That's like when she flipped the odometer is what she did.
Oh, yeah.
She rolled the machine.
She was like, oh, crap. She was like, I am not going to, like, when I say I'm not equipped to talk to her right now, and I leave, they're like, oh, crap. And I'm always just looking like, you better thank God your dad's got a wedding right now, because he's going to be focused at that wedding. But when he comes home, you better hope he does.
When he gets through his hangover tomorrow morning, you're in trouble.
If he calls and says he's staying at a hotel tonight, oh, you're, and it's like, you're like, don't set it up that way. Cause she's like, oh my God, he really is mad at me. Like, no, I did a wedding in Houston. I was going to stay at a hotel anyways. I'm not driving home 4 hours.
I'm driving there.
Like, I'm going to chill. Like, nope, I'm going to cool off and
I'm gonna chill.
Yeah. And then next day when I see you, we're going to go to Waffle House because I can yell at you at Waffle House and no one's going to look at us crazy because it's normal.
That's Waffle House.
It's Waffle House. So what happened to work today? Oh, there's some guy was yelling at his daughter.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that shit in first watch. It ain't gonna work.
No, first watch, no, you gotta be classy. Waffle House, right. Oh, no, we're throwing chairs.
And that's the staff. That's the staff.
I love how he said first watch. It's like, oh, that's just a bougie Waffle House. That's the Waffle House with the act right in the system, as I call it.
You know, I thought we had something special down here. We moved down here. One of my favorite things is going to a new city or a new place, right? And going, oh, that looks cool. Oh, that's an interesting place. I wonder if it's a chain. Oh, that looks like an interesting restaurant, right? And you come to find out it's like the local chain, like Whataburger. We don't have Whataburger in New Jersey. You're never going to see a Whataburger. You know, it's like you're never going to see a Buc-ee's in New Jersey, right? And for those of you who don't know what Buc-ee's is, look it up.
Greatest gas station known to mankind.
Yeah, so I thought first watch was one of those things. I'm like, oh, it's a first watch. This is like a Texas thing. This is like there's one in New Jersey when I went back there last week. I'm like, well, that kind of ruins it. Now I don't want to go to first watch anymore. I don't think it's anything special.
Have you done Brahms yet?
I've seen it, but I have not.
Brahms is a hidden gem in Texas. It's got years of history with it. Take the kids there. Burgers, fries, ice cream, great dairy products. You can't go wrong.
Sounds good to me.
Yes, take them for next ice cream trip. Take them to Brahms. You'll thank me later. I look forward to your thank you.
I will do that, and I will text you a thank you.
Man, so, oh my gosh, we went all over the place with this conversation. I love it.
I tend to do that. I tend to wander. I sort of have I just vomit. I just talk. It's years in radio. I can't help it. This is what I do.
I love it. Now, so, let's bring it back in, from your early days to your transition times to now, who's been some of your motivating factors? I mean, because obviously you're coming from the world of video, you have your videographers, but then I know there's been like that love-hate with the photographers, the ones that the talent just reaches out. I mean, and obviously you're around one of the most talented photographers I know, like, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. So who is on your list of like the people that that pushed you to be where you're at today as a videographer?
I'd have to say my wife, number one. I mean, she, the motivating factor for me going into business was to prove to myself that I can make it, that I could be successful in a business, and actually, for lack of a better analogy, climb the rope in gym class and ring the bell. And I feel like I've done that in the wedding world. I feel like I kind of reached the top of the industry at one point in time. It's a whole different world now than it was 8-9 years ago. But I was there. I was at the apex of the industry and got to speak at some really cool events and on some really cool stages around the world. I got to produce some really cool content. And then that sort of just died off. Now, because I wanted to see Vanessa's career flourish more than I wanted my own. I felt like I had reached and attained success, and I was satisfied in my soul that I felt really good about where I was with my business. Like I was transitioning like away from weddings and kind of moving more towards corporate and commercial, just because I just felt like I had done it all. Not to say that I'm the best and I have nothing else to learn. I just didn't feel like anything really pushing me to go higher in the wedding world, right? So at that point, Vanessa was becoming an EOL and she was getting these sponsorships and the YouTube channel we started. And I kind of just threw all my energy behind her. And I've watched her just take off, and it's amazing. And I'm happy to sit back and go, hey, you know what? I feel like I was a success in my business. I don't take on as many weddings anymore. I did 4 last year, I think. I don't do them as much. And I'm getting a ton of inquiries this year all of a sudden out of nowhere, despite having like no online presence whatsoever. But basically, my motivation still is to just see her career keep that upward trajectory, because she really is like on a rocket ship, and she has been for the last couple of years. So any way I can just I'm managing her post-production on the back end, and overall just holding the fort down for when she has to travel 150 days out of the year. But it's an honor.
And I think, when I've used her example, I've used numerous people as an example when I meet the new photographers, like, man, I want to travel, I want to do this stuff. And, I always say, be careful what you wish for, because it looks cool, but there's so much behind the scene that you don't see. So many logistics. Like I tell people, shooting weddings outside of the state of Texas, it's fun and everything. Mm-hmm. But man, like Texas is so big. My entire career has been made, majority of it has been made in here. I can stay at
Sure.
home and be just fine,
And
you
make good
know,
money,
and
and
make great money.
there's great wedding markets down here too. We didn't
Yes.
realize, but there's money down here. There's oil
Like
money, man. It's
we
crazy.
joke around all the time where like when I go anytime I go down to Austin or Houston, the friends that I have down there, they always say, "Dude, stay on your side," because they know I'm North Texas. I joke around. I call myself the king of the North. Everyone knows if you're coming to DFW, North Texas, Denton area, Waco, that's my territory.
What
Make
is
sure
it
you
like a
check it.
what is it like a jail yard?
Oh,
Yo,
absolutely.
man, this is my territory.
Exactly.
Stay off my territory. Don't be coming
Go
on
to
my
the
turf.
Woodlands, you stay your ass in Odessa
That's
permit. You
so
got the.
funny.
But Texas is so big though. That's the thing. You could drive 8 hours. You're still in Texas. You know.
But we never had that like in New York because like in the tri-state area, so you had New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania. Like you had like this huge, and think of all the weddings that happened in that region, right? I never once went out to Long Island, like out to the Hamptons, which is like a far, like 4 hour drive for us. Like it'd be the equivalent of driving from like San Antonio to Dallas. And been somebody like a photographer or videographer going, no man, this is my turf. You stay the fuck.
It's
That's
like,
like the most ridiculous thing in
joke
the
about it.
world.
They're like, dude, because well, like the first time somebody actually like had an issue with it, they're like, dude, you get so much in Texas. What the hell are you doing down here in San Antonio? And I'm like, they paid me. I mean, like the short answer is like, I shot the bride's wedding as our bridesmaid. She hired me for a wedding. That's how it goes. Texas is still very old school. And hey, you did my friend's wedding. You knocked it out the park. I want to hire you.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Most of the weddings I've done down here, though, I've been transplants. It's been people that are not from here. It's people that have come from all over, literally New York, Portland. And then, they have the hill country weddings out here. And that's what we've done. Most of the time, my high end ticket weddings are all back in the Northeast.
Yeah, it's certain. Like I mean, Hill Country because they have so many venues, and again, it's one of those hidden gems where you don't realize how many venues are there until you start doing the research. You're like, wait a minute, there's like 18 venues within a mile of each other. It's insane, but
Yeah, it's a beautiful area. The problem is it's like expensive to have a wedding out there because not many halls around here do the one-stop shop with the catering installed, right? They don't, a lot of places don't have catering. So you've got to bring in not only just catering, but every table, every chair, every linen, everything has to be brought in. It ends up being just as expensive as having it like at the Omni downtown because it's not any cheaper. I mean, they're nice venues, but it's
but
not going to be
it's exclusivity. I think it is. That's what they're going for.
right. Yeah,
Especially
yeah.
when you do it at the wineries, like the wine. Oh my gosh, like between Meadow Hills, Lost Oak out here in North, like the three wineries that I do the most weddings at, like they, it's an experience, especially like for that crowd. If it's the personality of that crowd, so yeah, definitely.
Right on.
So what's next for you going forward? Obviously, holding down the fort, being a trophy husband, super dad extraordinaire. But I mean, you're a producer, director, you're creating content and everything. So like, how do you manage wearing so many hats?
I don't know, to be honest with you. Like, so I still have some of my commercial clients that I service. One of my clients he builds luxury boat docks out on Lake Travis. So I get to go out there and just fly the drone and get on boats and like film these amazing. I mean, it's literally like a floating house, but it's a boat house. They're gorgeous, like $800,000 luxury boat docks with hydraulic lifts and all this crap. I mean, people go nuts. He's got a great client base. Like he redoes all the marinas. So like that's one of my favorite clients because I get to go out and be on the water where I love to be, and it's there's some cool stuff to look at and shoot. And then again, all of Vanessa's stuff behind the scenes for the most part. Like we have editors that we outsource to, but I've just now recently kind of taken the mantle of just managing it all for her, so she can focus on other things, right? And then on top of that, it's just little jobs that come along here and there. But like I said, I can't travel as much anymore, so. It's just sort of this thing where I take jobs as they come, but I'm not really actively marketing. But it's enough to keep me busy. I mean, it's enough to keep me. I mean, my work days are full. I'm not lacking for work.
Like you're being, in a sense, you're being modest in that moment too, because like you recently posted a wedding video, and I was just like, I remember comments saying, "This is a reminder that there are levels to this game." Because it's like I said, I always say like there's that upper echelon where we're talking about like guys like you, Leonardo, Justin, Ray Roman, like that's like to me that's if you're in video and you're in wedding videos. Let me preface that if you're in wedding videos, that's the peak, that's the pinnacle, that's where you need to be striving for because you don't want to just be at that starting point. Like that's what should like it's work that inspires you. And I still go back to like anytime I need a creative hit, I watch Silent Alyssa's wedding just because that's where I got to really pick. It was before that wedding I had to pick his brain and meet him for the first time, and then when I saw the wedding I was like, damn, that's where it was like, and that was when I was really coming into it because again, my move into video really was just to piss people off. And it was because I bitched about enough videographers that my buddy who does video says, hey, if you think it's easy, then
Yeah,
come
come
do it.
try it.
Come
Yeah.
try them and then come talk to me. And then when I did it, I shadowed him. I shot the wedding with him and asked him, what do you think? It was that bad. He says, I mean, you got a lot of, he goes, like, you're solid. You have a solid base from the photography side. You just need to get some polishing. And then I got that creative itch. It was like, oh, this is okay. There's levels. But I was like, again, it was something new to learn. And then I was like, and then with COVID happening, I was like, I really got time to just sit and learn it and really get better at it. And now it's, now I push people to be a hybrid, be a photographer and a videographer, because being good at one's going to make you better at the other.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I've seen some people do some really, I don't know if you know Charles King, Seeking Media. He's done exactly that. He started out as a photographer and he learned video. He worked under me for a very long time. And now he does more video than he does photo, and he's killing it. Like, he's a DC based content creator, and it's just lit. I mean, if I had to guess, he's probably doing $500,000 a year in sale. I mean, he's just killing it. Like, his clients, he's traveling all over the place. He's just doing a great job. Yeah, when it comes to weddings, though, like when I do shoot my weddings now, like I said, I'm more relaxed going into it and shooting it. But that edit, if I'm just going to churn out something that looks like something I did 3 years ago, I'm not having fun. So I need to push my own envelope, and I see work that inspires me online, and I take elements from that and I kind of weave it into what I'm doing, trying to challenge myself to do a style of editing that I'm not comfortable with. So it takes a little bit more time, but I'm not doing a ton of weddings, so I have the luxury of that time. And so like each wedding that I do now, I really kind of just push myself a little more to do something that when I watch it back, I go, oh, it's pretty cool, because I don't want it to look old and dated or look like something I've granted, I still want to give my clients what they get on my website, what they see, because that's why they book you, right? So they get that with a long film, but those teasers that I put out, I really push myself into new creative territory, if you will.
Nice, yeah. And again, it pushes the rest of us to always remember to keep getting better, keep pushing the envelope, keep pushing your creativity that never settled. I've seen the laziness, the complacency of it's like I could shoot a wedding without trying. The day you have that attitude, take a step back. Take a step back and take a break.
Bro, the day you say that, you're going to go into it and everything's going to break.
Oh, yeah. God. Oh, my God. And I would say, like, if you think you're a great wedding photographer, look at the people that scare the shit out of you. Look at the people that push you for greatness. Like I said, I'm on Photo Insiders all the time, and to see the stuff that the knowledge that she gives us and the way she critiques and educates. It's like, I want to, if there's nothing else, I want to be good for the people that when I first started, when I was first trying to break out, the people that took the shot at me or gave me the time of day, like, I want to be good for so they can look back and say, you know what, I remember when I was teaching him in 2016 and he turned out to have a good career. Like, am I going to, and I always say, like, my focus is always have a career first before all the other stuff. But before you become the quote unquote rock star, the name of the industry. It was like, I'm proud to say that I've had a 10+ year career and I've made great money doing it and made some great.
You shouldn't be out there telling anybody how to run their business or I mean, work is one thing, like teaching somebody a technique in an editing program. If you're a kid right out of school and you know it and I don't, I'll learn from you all day. But if you haven't really cut your teeth in weddings and you haven't, there's an initiation process. You got to get beat down for 5 years, and then you can start teaching people how to shoot weddings.
I feel like people are like trying to find the cheat code of how do they skip. Like, how do you like when, you meet these people? Oh, in my first year I made 6 figures. Like, how the hell did you pull off the anomaly? Because first off, in the industry as a whole, there ain't that many people that make 6 figures a year doing this. So how did you figure out this cheat code of like your year one and you made 6 figures? Like, how many ways you do? What was that secret sauce? Or did you inherit something that we didn't know about? You hear that, or you hear the people that want to grow, but they don't want to put in the work. They don't want to intern. They don't want to hold the camera and the bags and learn. And, I tell people, dude, I said years ago at Shutterfest, holding Vanessa's lights, I learned so much in that 30 minutes I was holding her lights for, and just watching her standing next to her, just like you're under that learning tree. And I was like, to me, that's what's important. Like, yes, it's great to take cool shots, but to see the mind behind it, how you create it, how they see it through their lens, no pun intended, through their eyes. You could see like how they do. It's one thing to build up to that iconic shot, but how did you build to that? I don't know.
But it's also about learning how to deal with the problems. The most valuable wedding education you can get is being on a bad one, because I mean, you could shadow your mentor all day, and let's say it's a perfect scenario and everything looks good and the light's great. Now, you're gaining valuable knowledge watching your mentor work in a controlled, good environment. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to learn weddings and like the ins and outs of a wedding, and then ultimately with the goal of going out on your own, you want to go through a couple bad experiences. You want to learn like, hey, I want to see how my mentor handles when the groom says he doesn't want to be filmed in the morning. I want to see what the, how my mentor handles rain or in shitty light or dark day or no access to something or a bad planner. Like, how does he deal with the pitfalls? Like,
Fighting
you'll
couple.
learn, or or just a couple that sucks. I mean, there are some couples that you just know right away. They're just like, these two should not be getting married. Number one, and number two, I'm not going to get anything good from them. They're just not. They don't have any chemistry. So I want to see how they handle. Like, I was always curious about when I was learning about Ray Roman, I was watching him. All of his videos were just him he was showing himself in perfect scenarios doing what he does, and it was great. It was like, oh, that's how he does that. Oh, that's how he does that. Oh, I see how he uses the camera. Oh, I see his lens choice there. I wanted to see him, like, he should hold a workshop where everything goes wrong
Yes.
and
Like,
teach how.
how do you adjust when you set up your cameras and then the official walks in and says, yeah, move those fucking cameras out the way?
Or
And you're
you
like,
go and
yeah,
I've been in churches before. They've had the lights set. You go in there, you shoot all your establishing shots, everybody coming in, and then right before the bride comes in, they jack the lights all the way up. Like literally, as she's walking through the door, and then you have to pivot. You have to change your exposures on the fly. We're not trying to keep NDs and do like just crank your shutter if you have to. But you had like those kinds of things are so much more of a prevalence than good days.
yep,
Most weddings are tough. There's things that go wrong. You need to learn that stuff. You need to get your ass beat a few times. Then you're ready to take on your own weddings.
definitely. Well, man, dude, we've gone over an hour and just, man, I could talk to you all day about just everything and anything, man, because like this has just been a fun conversation. But dude, where can everybody hit you up on where you at on social media these days?
Rob Adams Films, primarily on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. Facebook, you could find me, but anybody under the age of 45 at this point is not using Facebook. No, I mean, yeah, Instagram for the most part.
Nice, yeah. And like I said, if you want to see some amazing videos, if you're filming videos, whether it's wedding videos, engagements, just video content in general, I mean, Rob has always been a resource to go to for me. So like, check out his Instagram. He has a wealth of knowledge and he shares so much knowledge and just be inspired. You can't go wrong with it. Well, Rob, man, thank you so much for your time today, man.
Thanks, Marvin.
All right, man, it's good to talk to you.
You too. Talk to you soon.
That's it for this week's show. Again, thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with others. Leave those reviews and check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until then, see you next week.